Hello, I'm North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. Welcome to the Greater Northwest Passenger Rail Summit. Thank you for your participation in this important conference. In North Dakota, we utilize rail to support the movement of our major industries, including agriculture and energy. Our state would never have been built without the rail infrastructure that was created back starting in the 1880s. My hometown of Arthur, of course, was one of those communities on the plains that was built as part of the economic development of rail service. But in North Dakota, we also are very fortunate to have consistent, reliable source of passenger transportation across the northern part of our state through Amtrak. Railway transportation is important to the economic development of communities throughout North Dakota and our nation. And investing in our rail system for freight also allows us the opportunity to gain passenger rail benefits. In a recent letter to the Deputy Administrator of the Federal Railroad Administration, we requested that the FRA formally recognize the Greater Northwest Passenger Rail Working Group. With the passage of Section 22214 of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the Secretary of Transportation and the FRA are empowered to convene working groups to assist with the Amtrak Daily Long Distance Study. We fully support your efforts to explore the possible restoration of the former North Coast Hiawatha passenger rail line that once serviced North Dakota communities along Interstate 94. That route would take you from Fargo to Jamestown, North Dakota, to Bismarck, North Dakota, to Dickinson, North Dakota, to Medora, North Dakota, right by the entrance of the Theodore Roosevelt National Park, and on across Montana to Billings, where you're meeting today. I've got great memories from this rail line. As a kid growing up, my mom's brother lived in Billings, Montana. They had 7 kids. The way that we got to see our cousins every summer was getting on the Hiawatha and riding across the state to our cousins in Billings, and then at the end of that week, coming back on that same railroad line. Those memories are fantastic. And of course, on that same line, there was the North Coast Limited on the Northern Pacific, which provided even better and faster service than the Hiawatha, which we also loved because it stopped at almost every community across North Dakota. But great memories about that, and that can be something that coming back could provide great memories and great capacity for the next generation. But communities in North Dakota, along with our congressional delegation across the region, have voiced bipartisan support for establishing the Greater Northwest Passenger Rail Working Group to explore this concept of restoring rail across our busiest transportation corridor, the I-94 corridor across North Dakota, that hits all of our largest cities. In North Dakota, tourism is our 3rd largest industry, and restoring that passenger rail service along I-94 could have significant economic benefit, attracting visitors to North Dakota's most visited attractions, including the historic town of Medora, Theodore Roosevelt National Park, which is the future home of the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library and Museum. Let's talk a little history about TR and trains. In 1884, on February 14th, yes, Valentine's Day, Theodore Roosevelt lost his mother and his wife in the same house on the same day, both of them passing away. His newborn daughter, Alice, he gave to his sister, and he embarked for the West. He got on a train and came all the way across the newly built in 1883 bridge across the Missouri River in Bismarck, which still stands today. And then coming on to, at that time, was virtually almost the end of the line, Medora, North Dakota. Here, Theodore Roosevelt transformed himself. He went from a New Yorker who had had a very sickly childhood to the rough and tumble cowboy that went on to lead the Rough Riders up San Juan Hill, win the Medal of Honor, the only president to ever do so. And he developed his whole concept of conservation, which led to the formation of U.S. Fish and Wildlife, National Park Service, and the expansion of the national park system itself. There are 63 national parks in our system. Only one of them is named after an individual, the Theodore Roosevelt National Park. Just across the street from where TR got off the train the very first time in North Dakota will be the Presidential Library in his honor, looking into the Theodore Roosevelt National Park. Citizens across our nation, as we approach July 4th, 2026, the 250th anniversary of our nation, should have the opportunity to arrive at that location in the same way that TR did and embark and get off in the historic city of Medora. And we know that the development of Western Rail passenger service was closely tied, both in the United States and Canada, to national park systems. Of course, I've also had the opportunity, as many North Dakotans, to ride on Amtrak and get off right in Glacier National Park. So again, the incredible heritage of our country captured through our Western national parks, they're tied to the railroad system, they're tied to economic development. Again, the state of North Dakota would not have ever even really been settled or developed as it was without the advent of the railroad. We're so appreciative and so grateful of your work in this working group. We want to thank you for your passion and your dedication to the restoration, the expansion, and the enhancement of passenger rail service across the greater Northwest. Enjoy the rest of your conference. Thanks for your work. We look forward to hosting you. Please join us July 4th, 2026, when the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library, and when you come by train. Thank you.